Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. And welcome to another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zhu and Peebush. How are you guys doing?
Just beautiful, man. 3 for 3 in redraft fantasy playoff appearances. It's just beautiful when you have all those teams in there. And, hey, man, it's all luck. You never know how it's going to turn out. But it just feels good to show up. Your team showed up throughout the year, throughout kind of a crazy year. Bunch of backup RBs coming into the fold towards midseason. I'm sure we're going to talk about a couple of those guys. A lot of sleeper picks that were taken throughout the year, and some duds from the first round and onwards. I mean, I think this was kind of supposed to be a flip year in fantasy where kind of people changed their approaches to drafting, and nope, it went right back to where it usually had been for the past 6 or 7 years, and probably even before that. So if you went too contrarian, you probably aren't in the playoffs right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, this week, just sadness. Lost the team on Monday night. Couldn't get it done. The team faltered. Only had 2 teams make the playoffs. 40% making the playoffs. Just shameful. At least one got a bye, so they're automatically in Final Four. But other one's fighting for his life in the wild card round. So it's been a rough season. Got to reanalyze. A little bad luck, little bad drafting. I got to make some adjustments to get it done next year. But man, oh man, the highs and lows of fantasy.
Oh yeah,
highs and lows.
That's a damn.
I'll tell you, the fantasy football season, definitely the byline or the title of it could be highs and lows. Well, this year more than any, I do feel like the grizzled veterans at running back, nobody saw coming with Saquon. I mean, I guess Derrick Henry, but those guys had explosive years. And part of the discussion we want to start off with was fantasy MVPs. So, Peebush, who were some of the guys you were looking at or looked at and said, this guy was definitely the MVP of the fantasy year?
Man, I think this should be unanimous across the board, but it's a Mr. Saquon Barkley of Philadelphia, man. I mean, you could talk about where he was drafted to where he's probably going to be 101 next year draft, maybe up there with Jamar Chase, depending on PPR, non-PPR, half-point PPR, whatever your league is. But if you don't have Saquon Barkley, or if you have Saquon Barkley, you are probably in the playoffs no matter how crappy the rest of your team.
Number 1 seed, probably.
Yep. I mean, unless you had, the thing is he was going late first round, and even in some leagues, maybe even at the turn. Depending on the size of your league. I mean, but you could look at his numbers, and I think they speak for themselves. He's already almost setting his carries record. He's, I think, 30 carries behind his record so far in his career, and he has 4 games left. 4 games left. He's easily going to crush that. He's got 1,600 yards as of week 14, 11 rushing touchdowns at 6.1 yards per carry for a guy getting 266 carries so far. And then he's got 38 catches for nearly 270 and another 2 touchdowns. So through 14 weeks, 13 games, you're talking 1,900 total yards on 300 touches and 13 touchdowns. I mean, I can't deny that the Philly O-line, you just got to draft because of that and that alone. I mean, Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. But DeAndre Swift last year, he had a great season with the Eagles. Maybe not, and obviously not to the same extent. That shows you the difference of talent of these 2 players, but it shows that it can create value for players. We saw years ago, Rashad Penny was actually very good on the Eagles in fantasy football playoff time. So it doesn't really matter.
I remember that year.
Yeah, you remember that year?
Won me a championship by picking him up.
He was a great waiver wire. So, I mean, I got to go with Saquon. A couple other guys that I considered, Joe Mixon, kind of just for the value of where he went. But he did miss those handful of games with the ankle injury, so it might have affected, your season. Kind of similar with Nico Collins, I would say. Kind of just an absolute monster of a year, but missed a lot of time, went on IR for a little bit. And I think Derrick Henry speaks for himself. He's very much quieted the last couple weeks with the Ravens kind of getting in close games. a bit more. So the script isn't there for Henry, and we know that he is not really a pass catcher. So kind of considered those other two RBs. Jamar Chase, you can throw in there as well, but he was going in the first round. He was expected to have a great season compared to some of his other peers. So I still got to give it to Saquon, man. He's just a god this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you at the running back position. Definitely is Saquon Barkley, but for me this year, based on positional value at the most valuable position, Jamar Chase.
Oh,
Jamar Chase is the MVP because of the wide receiver position and the amount this guy is outscoring position. Because if you look at running backs this year, Saquon is averaging the most 22 a game, half-point PPR. But there's a lot of really, really high-quality running back years. As you mentioned, Derrick Henry, close to 20 a game. You got Joe Mixon, close to 20 a game. Gibbs, Bijan, David Montgomery. So Josh Jacobs, like Alvin, this is the year of the running back coming back. So even if you missed on Saquon, there was a handful of running backs that were giving you elite production, especially in the number of rushing touchdowns this year. Like these guys absolutely feasted.
Yeah.
But if you look at the wide receiver position, after last year's historic season with the wide receivers, that's why wide receivers went early. Pretty much for the first time I've seen like the highest I've ever seen. Huge disparity after Jamar Chase. Yep. Dude's averaging 20 a game. Number 2 is a 5-point differential on average to Justin Jefferson. A 5-point gap from first to second.
Well, Zhu, you're forgetting Nico Collins and Puka Nacua.
Yeah. Those guys had injuries, and they were on average wise, they had a really, really good season, especially like Puka and Nico. They're on the 15, 16, 17 point per game. But if you look at those guys, he still has like a 3 to 4 point.
3-4.
Exactly average. Like this margin of you're getting it from Jamar Chase is not seen at the running back position because there's a lot of elite, like top 10, top 15 running backs. You got a couple of those guys, you're doing pretty well. But at the wide receiver position, Scary Terry. Like, I love Scary Terry. That guy's number 5 this year at 13 a game. Like, I'm sorry, Scary Terry wasn't a league winner. He was a really, really good player this year, but he wasn't winning you leagues. Same thing with the CeeDee Lamb. He's number 4 this year. And if you had CeeDee Lamb in the first round, I don't think your team did that well this year.
Even Amon-Ra.
Yeah. Amon-Ra had a nice year, but at 14. So that's still a 6+ point differential between first to third. And Amon-Ra had a really, really good. Yeah. You have JSN at 6.
Yep.
JSN. So like the receiver position this year was surprise. It was just not that good relative to last year. It's like the top 10 was Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and Brian Thomas and Jerry Jeudy. Like these guys were not considered league winners this year. So at the receiver position, Chase's value just based on overall production now, almost at 21 a game, is historic. He's going for the Triple Crown this year. Like he's going for that Cooper Kupp type season. So he's on pace to doing that right now. And you're looking at a guy at Chase where he is the master of the spike weeks. Like his spike weeks are Jerry Rice, Tyreek-esque, where it is just you got him for that spike week, you just get the dub. Like your team just got to show up and play. And if you got a guy dropping 38, 50, 36, 27 in a single week from the wide receiver position, you like this guy legitimately won you weeks. So like for me, I got to give it to Jamar Chase. Not gonna lie, I was kind of scared about the Bengals this year with like the whole.
That's why
contract. I remember the first like week or two, I was like, ugh, a little bad. But then they got their chemistry down after that Patriots game. I was like, ooh, this is kind of weird. But the team's record might not be as good, but their offensive production has been elite. Like Joe Burrows is putting up MVP numbers. Jamar Chase is putting up his best season since his rookie year. So I got to give it to Jamar Chase. Like if you have Jamar Chase at the wide receiver position, you're in the playoffs just by that one man alone, which is just incredible.
In our league, I passed on him for JJ. They went back to back.
I would have done the same thing. I just
wasn't there.
I would have done the same thing.
JJ's the consistent one. He just gives you like 15 to 16 a week, and he has a couple spikes. So Jamar is just like this.
Yeah.
So
like, like his yak is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous watching him play. Like this guy is a special talent, and he's putting up a special year. Like a couple of years back, he like missed like a decent amount of games, so he doesn't hit those high receiving yard totals that he could hit. But now this year, relatively more healthy compared to previous seasons. So yeah, for me this year based on positional value that you could have got Jamar Chase at, because you could have got Jamar Chase and got a bunch of really, really good running backs in the second, third, fourth round. So, if you had that, your team just absolutely smash it.
So I definitely agree with Chase and Barkley, like relative to, I don't think Chase fell in most drafts, but I think people were nervous because of reports of Joe Burrow's injury. And like Saquon in most standard leagues, you probably got him on the turn, possibly. So like just for the value sake, it's like that is hella value with what Saquon's putting up. But as I was going on this, because I feel like we always going to have kind of the same answer on this, I've been beating this drum a little bit about the quarterbacks and like where you should take them. And I'm just looking at the scoring for like PPR. Just in the top 10, you have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, just in the top 10 of like highest scores. Are we just going to have to like maybe start adjusting how we look at and where we draft quarterbacks at? Like, is it always just going to be you got to take a Jamar? Like, Jamar excluding, like, of course, if Jamar is there, you have to take him. Like, he's proven consistently over the years.
Don't say QB first round. I cannot go there.
Allen?
No.
I love Josh Allen. This is my MVP, but
somebody
I can't
in the playoffs last week, bro. Somebody that was like, I'm not making the playoffs this week.
Yeah, he
dropped
dropped
him in the playoffs, bro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, even with just, that Josh Allen high, whatever, that's a crazy week, anomaly week, right?
Yeah, greatest QB
even
game
still,
of all time.
Like, even still, bro, like, you're looking at Lamar. Joe Burrow has been going nuts. Jalen Hurts. I mean, Baker, whatever. Jaden Daniels, where you could have got him. He's going to come up with my sleepers. Like, newsflash. Like, it kind of, I get it. And, like, in a 14 team, I know I'm warped on this view, but, like, I feel like it's starting to trend. I'm not saying it has to be next year, but it's starting to trend towards the quarterback is going to become the most valuable person on the field and who you would want to take in the first round.
Oh,
it's trending that way.
Okay, I think it's trending that way. Here's what I'll say real quick.
I think it's trending that way, man.
If you're in a 14-team league and let's say you have the 13th pick,
even if you're in 12,
I would not be mad if you took Jalen's your second round pick on the turn. In a 14-team league where you're going to have to.
What's the difference between taking them at 12 and 14?
Because of who's available there, I think you
need
to.
So like Tyreek.
Next year?
I'd rather have Josh Allen.
No, that's fine. Sorry. Yeah, but I don't think everyone is going to agree with you and is going to steal Josh Allen at 13th. You know what I mean? Like, I think you might be reaching a little bit. Maybe give it another year or two and maybe you'll be right.
That's what I'm saying. Just it's trending. I'm saying trending. I don't think I'd do it next year.
But that Josh Allen, like this dude is just a fantasy football freak because the dude averages 23 for the last 5 years. You're getting a margin. You're getting 3-point differential on average against the average quarterback. So he gives you that. He gives you that premium at the QB position. And Lamar,
you only need
Lamar's doing that again this year. But he had games. He had years where he was below, like pretty much.
Yeah. Lamar's like. So and if you look at Lamar,
he's more.
If you look at Lamar's stats,
Josh Allen is consistent,
just steady.
And I would even say Hurts is getting those rushing touchdowns.
He's up there too.
That's the thing. The tush push is still there. Like he stole over 10
Cam Jurgens. Love him. Cam Jurgens, I love him. Yeah, he's a good center. I just want to open up the conversation just with like
I can't go first round.
Agree.
Second round, my ears are open.
Yes.
Second round, my ears, because in one of my leagues this year, in a standard scoring league, I was at the turn 2021 or 22, 23 or whatever the turn was, and I took Hurts at the turn. Josh Allen went super early. I took Hurts at the turn with Josh Jacobs. So I took him at the turn, and it's doing quite well.
Second to third. From second to third.
So the second, third round, definitely a smash if you're going, but the guy needs to be getting 22 points. That's the thing. And you got to have that rushing ability. You got to hit that 22 plus points per game. Because if they don't, there's no value at that pick. They got to hit that. They got to hit that.
It's a bigger risk, I think, is the whole
thing. Because if you swing and miss,
high risk, high reward.
That mark. Exactly. It is a high risk, high reward. But I think Josh Allen's is just one of the best picks ever in fantasy football.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
ridiculous.
And he turned into Puka and Josh Jacobs. So, yeah.
Like, it just was just like when I was thinking about Josh Allen and what he was doing in the points, like in real time when I was watching the game, I was just like, oh, like this. He's gonna win somebody like who was probably thinking, okay, Josh Allen's gonna get me 25. Like he got you into the playoffs if he was on the bubble.
Well, you could argue, Sean, the same with Jamar Chase.
For sure, but it's accepted that the receivers and the running backs, you kind of can get in the first round. But I'm like, I just feel like how the NFL is going with these quarterbacks. Like to me, it's like they have the ball in their hands all the time. And I'm not talking about which is naming those guys that were in the top 10 of scoring. I'm not speaking obviously about Baker and Jaden Daniels. We'll see. Like it's still early, but like I'm talking about, of course, Lamar, Josh, Jalen. It's like they have the high risk, high reward of where they could literally on the lat. You could be 5 and 7, and they could win you the next 2 weeks if they just go nuclear. And I just feel like, especially too with who now this year's draft, like I said before, it's not as many explosive running around athletes. Because I don't think Jalen Milroe is leaving. He may, but I don't think he is. But like how if you're looking at the quarterbacks that are even just in the playoffs now, like the explosive guys they're putting that are at quarterback and their ability to throw and pass, and how also to the NFL is not all this full pro style type where they just drop back 50 times a game. I just think it's trending towards there's gonna be way more athletes that, like for instance, like how I drafted this year, it didn't really work out with Anthony Richardson, but like I still had the presence of mind to take Jaden. I can just now transition to like my sleeper because we agreed on who it was for our MVPs. Jaden to me was just like, middle of the round, screw it. I watched his college tape. He's a Heisman winner. Think he's really good. We'll see. He exceeded expectations, which made the Anthony Richardson pick not as bad. So it's like, that's why it just got me in the thought process. Like next year, like I said, if I was in a standard 10-man league or whatever, or 12-man league, is like, would I take a chance on Jaden or Jalen at the turn? Maybe not. Now, Josh Allen's there. I'm probably drafting him early because Josh Allen, I just feel like fantasy-wise, is going to get you to another level.
God.
Yeah. But it's like, it just has gotten me to thinking, like, I always try to look at different ways of how I draft. And Jaden is an example of, like, rookie quarterback, Heisman winner. I keep saying LSU guys. I know I talk about receivers a lot, but the LSU guys just period. I mean, look at Joe Burrow, look at Jaden Daniels. Like, those guys hit. So that's kind of like maybe your cheat sheet if you're going into the draft next year. Like, I wonder who's coming out of LSU. Let's see if we should take that guy. But it's like, for me, I just was like, okay, I got this guy in the middle of the round. He was able to become my starter, I think probably like after week 2 or 3, like definitely after the Tampa Bay game, he was able to become my starter. Now, did he have duds in there? Yeah, but like if you draft well enough, you can withstand 2 weeks of them not playing well if you draft well. Because on the other hand, I'm kind of talking out both sides of my mouth because you can't always depend on your quarterback to just win you every week. I just think with these quarterbacks that can really run and have designed runs, I just think they're a cheat code because they can get these rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns, which, so Jamar Chase can do that in a Debo. When Debo, that too is like Debo's another one healthy. Yeah, like when Debo is healthy, like he's one of those guys too. He can get rushing touchdowns, he can get receiving touchdowns. He just is so versatile. So the quarterback always has the ball in his hands. And I feel like where it's trending, not saying you should do it next year, but where it's trending is I want to draft a guy high that has the ball in his hand every play. And could at any moment take a 60-yard run or at any moment throw a 60-yard dime. I just think that's invaluable. But Jaden for me was one of the guys, like I said, I got in the mid to late draft, and I was able to start him after week 2 and rode him into the playoffs. So it's like I'm very proud of how I drafted with him, and I was excited when I saw I was able to draft him. And just a shout out, I think David Montgomery is so slept on. And if you see where he's positioned with any running backs, like he's in between Joe Mixon and Kyron Williams, who everybody talked about as RB1s. Everybody in the fantasy community who plays fantasy for real knows David Montgomery's good, but I don't feel like he gets talked about as an RB1. Yeah. And he played with those guys. Now, I get Gibbs is on his team, and Gibbs is way more versatile. And maybe next year Gibbs will even go to a crazier level, and maybe David Montgomery stays on the same plane as what he's doing now. But even if he just stays how he's playing now, he's an RB1. And you could have got him, what, at least in our draft, our 14-team draft, he went 4th round.
8th round.
So he went 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe 8th in some.
I got him in 8th.
Yeah. It was a huge range you get David Montgomery.
Yeah. So
people were scared of Gibbs.
Yeah, the carries, I get it, but considering who their head coach is, it's kind of like he's a smash mouth. Yeah, smash mouth guy. So I just had to give him a shout out.
I love the Monty shout out because so productive, so efficient in the goal line. Because some guys just have a nose. It reminds me of Zeke back in the day. Like some people have a nose for the end zone.
Yep.
And some people just
Mixon
don't.
this year.
Some
Yep.
people just don't. Like Joe Mixon's another one. Just have a nose for when they get in the 1-2 because like
James Conner.
Yeah, James Conner. Like there's certain guys just get in the end zone, and then there's certain guys like a Tony
Kamara.
Pollard or a Brees Hall.
Even Kamara, Zoo.
They don't.
They
He's good
just
at
don't.
finding
They're
his own
explosive. Or even a guy I love, Bijan. He gets stuffed a lot of times. Like some guys just aren't good in the red zone, and when you got an offensive line like that on the Detroit Lions, is one of the most beautiful offenses. They get in the red zone, boom, just touchdown every single time. They take turns. They legit one possession, Monty scores, next possession, Gibbs scores. They take turns getting touchdowns.
Zoo, it's always the same.
Yeah.
They always start games with Monty on the first drive.
Yeah.
And then they go to Gibbs.
Legit. So they're fresh, and they both, it's incredible. They got 2 RB1s. They somehow figure out a way. And somehow the receivers also eat too because the offense is so elite. But yeah, I love the Monty shout out. He's probably one of my better picks, later picks this year. But for me, in one of my other leagues, I got to shout out the rookie tight end, Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Because this is what I was promised with Kyle Pitts. This is what I was promised, except it's that guy, the balding white guy on the Raiders. That guy's the real deal.
The accountant, yeah.
He's the real deal. Because he looks like a receiver.
Dude, he belongs at an enterprise.
He's like, oh, he's a tight end playing receiver. I see Mr. Donut almost cost me a playoff spot. Donut.
Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts.
It's not going to happen.
I gotta be addicted to Pitt to bury Kyle Pitts in there, man. Jesus Christ, he doesn't even I hate him. Brock Bowers.
Okay, I don't even think you can call him a dud, Zoo, because most people expected Kyle Pitts to do exactly what he's doing.
I took him in the 8th round. Might as well donate a pick.
Could have had Bowers.
If Kirk Cousins can't give him the ball, that's
the
alarming.
thing. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Kirk Cousins likes throwing it. Kyle Pitts trash. So Brock Bowers.
Watch him go for Penix next year. Penix will get on the ball. We'll all be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, exactly.
But I get it. Yeah.
But Brock Bowers' rookie season as a tight end, is this the greatest rookie tight end season of all time?
For sure.
Yeah. Sam Laporta last year was like, oh wow. But he got like a bunch of tutties. But this guy like tutties are definitely more variable, as we can see. Mr. Laporta did not follow up that sophomore year with a terrific season. But Brock Bowers with that QB situation, like Jesus, like Gardner Minshew, Aiden McConnell, like I don't know what the dysfunctional organization. They were getting a QB upgrade they're drafting a QB this year, so hopefully that's a definite upgrade over the guys they previously had. And the dude's got almost 1,000 yards already and 4 touchdowns. I'm like, Brock Bowers and his ability to be that yak guy, because he got that yak ability. He gets the ball and he likes running it. Like, so like we're watching it slowly, but Kelsey is finally passing the torch, because this year I love Kelsey. Like, I want to see it a year where Kelsey doesn't look like Kelsey. Kelsey just sometimes has those games where he just doesn't really do anything. No. And like, he still got Mahomes throwing the ball, but he just doesn't look like the same guy now. Brock Bowers is taking the throne as that tight end one, which is something I would never say because I'm a huge Kelsey fan. But Brock Bowers is taking that. The thing is, I don't want people to get too excited and take this dude in the first round. Like, let's take it easy now. I'm just highlighting that this guy is tight end 1 and should be tight end 1. Like, maybe some Trey McBride guys out there. I love Trey McBride. That guy's a definition of reception.
I'll wait for McBride if people are overdrafting Bowers.
That's the thing. But Brock Bowers, if you take him the first round, it's not going to be pretty.
No.
If you take him in the second round, I'm warning you, don't take him in the second round.
Yeah.
I know you're going to be itching. I know a lot of people are going to be itching, especially if they have pre-draft rankings like, oh, I get Brock Bowers 50. No. The based on the position is very volatile. If it's the 3rd round, okay, maybe. Let's think.
That's where Laporta went.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where Laporta went.
But I think Brock Bowers is way better than Laporta.
Yes.
Laporta just got a bunch of touchdowns last
and he doesn't have – and it's going to be a pass-first offense in Vegas.
It's going to be a bad team, down, pass-heavy offense.
Only him and Jacoby Myers. It's only him and Jacoby.
Exactly. So, like, Brock Bowers, I think he's that 3rd round guy. But this year, I remember, I was like, this guy's a rookie, 1st-round pick. All-time prospect going pretty late. I got him in the 10th round in a 12-team league.
Yep.
So, like, getting those late round values this year, Brock Bowers is that late round. Like, he's tight end 1 this year.
Yeah.
Tight end 1.
Yeah, him and Kittle.
Yeah, Kittle got banged up, so he missed a couple of games. Brock Bowers is the most consistent based on staying healthy and production-wise on just a really bad team. And
I'm telling you,
Bowers, this guy's the real deal.
Kittle might be kind of on the tail end too. I just get that feeling, just with all the injuries that he's literally in a car crash almost every single week.
And the way he plays is very aggressive.
And I just think that the Kelsey Kittle, it's going to be Bowers McBride kind of going forward. And then, you know what? I get a little Mark Andrews, Sam Laporta vibes, man. Kind of inconsistency with seasons. It's going to be really hard to predict Sam Laporta going forward.
Yeah.
Because we know they have Amon-Ra locked up. They have Jameson Williams. They still
and in the red zone, they like running it in.
Exactly.
And like, why not? When you have a hit rate of
scoring
every single
let's be completely honest. How much longer is Jared Goff going to be able to be at the helm of this team? And they're going to have to start over with a quarterback in a couple of years. So something to consider. Not, for next year, I'm sure Goff will still be there and be fine. But if you're in Dynasty, it's something to consider when it comes to the tight end position. So, yeah, man, sleepers at Brock Bowers was one of mine. Jaden Daniels, I did mention as well. I got him in the 11th round.
Yeah,
in the 12-team league for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he was going at that elite value because we knew about the upside. Sean, you told me about that deep ball of his. I saw it all this year. So those are the deep values that were there for the picking, and they were sexy because they're rookies.
I'm going to go with there's two RBs that I want to highlight. One of the guys, a little bit up in the air as of right now, but man, if you got J.K. Dobbins, you were set to make the playoffs this year. He was great value coming in. A lot of people drafted Gus Edwards ahead of him, and I don't blame you. He was coming off 3 major injuries. Yep. I personally had been screwed by him in Dynasty, but I bit the bullet. And I drafted him, and it paid off for me. Now he's missing the playoffs, so I'm not going to choose him as my main sleeper MVP. But he could be back if you do make it to the championship game. I think he comes off IR for that. So if you made it this far and you can squeak by, and maybe you even got a bye and you only have to play 1 playoff game without Dobbins, and then he comes back for the championship, that could be huge for you. But sleeper MVP, some people I saw were talking about Josh Jacobs. He was still a pretty highly drafted running back, and so I'm not really going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about a running back, man, that has come on with a force the last 5 or 6 weeks, and that's Chase Brown. He might be a league winner right now because, I think a lot of people, kind of similar to the Dobbins and Gus Edwards, a lot of people were taking Zach Moss ahead of Chase Brown.
Yep.
And, I understand that in hindsight because Zach Moss did have monster games with the Colts last year. A lot of people remember that. Got a nice contract. But Chase Brown was kind of the young guy that, he was kind of the a bit of a Dobbins to Gus Edwards. I'm just going to make that same exact comparison, but no injuries for Chase Brown, right? He didn't have that history. And if you got him in the last 5 or 6 weeks, really since I'd say probably about week 8, I don't have his numbers all right in front of me, but I know Zach Moss went on IR kind of towards the early mid part of the season. And from that point on, this is Chase Brown's backfield, and it will be going forward for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. He's putting up monster numbers, and the value of him, Zhu, is he's matchup proof because it doesn't matter.
He gets the receptions.
He gets the receptions, and he's very good with the yak, and he's shifty. He might catch a screen ball, and you're like, oh, man, there's 3 defenders. He still gets you 5 or 6 yards when you don't even see anything. I'm not saying that's going to win you a league, but you do that 5 or 6 times throughout the game, and then you get 1 big breakout plus another run or so. He's a pretty good red zone guy, too.
Yep. So, he got a lot of touchdowns this year.
A lot of touchdowns. And that, once again, I'm going to preface this for Zhu, exactly what Zhu was saying with Bowers. Don't take Chase Brown in like the 4th round next year. Okay. His touchdown volatility is going to fluctuate. And I just think you can still get value for him probably, but he's going to be overdrafted. All these guys that we're talking about are going to be overdrafted next year. Because of how well
absolutely.
But you have
especially Jaden Daniels, I feel like he's going to
especially Jaden and especially Jaden Dobbins, if he comes back healthy at the end of the season and we see him in the playoffs with the Chargers, if they make it, I think he'll be overly drafted. But Chase Brown and Brock Bowers at the positional level, I think those are going to be 2 of the most overdrafted players compared to where their true ADP value is. I wish I had Chase Brown shares.
Yeah, he was pretty much free. He went in the hundreds. And I think every single one of my drafts, I was like, Zach Moss or Chase Brown. I seen Zach Moss star. I'm going to take him.
And then you're like, I'm going to stay away from one of these.
Because we knew that Bengals offense was going to be good. So the odds were people were throwing darts on seeing which running backs gets the cheap little touchdowns. But it took the Zach Moss injury, and Chase Brown definitely took his job. And he almost has 10 touchdowns already. He has 9 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, and he didn't even start for the first 5.
Yeah, first 3. Yeah. So, I got to give major props to Chase Brown.
I do think, too, with Chase Brown and Zach Moss was to your point, people about being overdrafted. I do think they should not be drafted as high because I just feel like Cincinnati's probably going to take a back in the draft. They're going to get a back in the
That's
second or
true.
third round and become like the bell cow, and then it's going to regulate Chase Brown to like a all-purpose second back, third down back. That's
third
what they'll
down
probably end up
guy.
becoming.
Third down.
And then it's
Kind
like
of what
the
Eckler
value
is
will
to
go
B
away.
Rob. That's what I'm
Yeah.
picturing right now.
Yeah.
Like kind of an Eckler Washington version. Eckler, not prime Chargers. Okay.
Mhm.
Where he's
And speaking of the Commanders, when you just brought up B. Rob and Eckler, I know Eckler wasn't there last year, but has anybody had a bigger fall from grace than Antonio Gibson? Remember the hype around him like 2 years ago?
I still remember that. I thought it was too crazy at the time.
Yeah.
First, second round. I was like, what the? I was getting Google. I was like, why is his ADP so high? Antonio who? On the Commanders?
He was.
I remember that.
Yeah, and
he had that one great year.
and then it just kind of fell apart. Now he's like what? New England backup, whatever.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
backup.
he's on the Peyton
Backing
Hillis
up
track.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Who's another guy who not a sleeper, but he's a consistent RB too. Like
He just gives you
him a
like
lot.
14 a game. Like
Mhm.
never has
Yeah, he's
huge
gonna get his
ceiling
carries.
games. He's a great RB3. If you can get him as your RB3, he's a great rotational guy.
Yeah, but yeah, I was just looking at that. I was like, yeah, Gibson. Had a pretty
Let me
far
get
fall
into
off.
this.
But
Let me get into these duds though, Sean, because I've been waiting.
I already know which. I feel like I know. One of you two guys are going to pick one guy that I probably have.
Well, of course, everyone's. Yeah, I'll mention it. I'll leave him to. I might leave him to Zhu. Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the most overdrafted player. But Zhu, I'll save it for you. So I'm going to talk about a guy. I'm going to talk about a guy that was a first round pick, and I mean, just has not done anything this year. And there are a couple guys that are in here. I thought about Tyreek.
Yep.
But he has come back to form the last couple weeks, and that's when we need him.
He's been really productive.
So if you somehow survive to make it into the playoffs,
that was very hard.
Exactly. Then,
That was very hard.
Then if you have him for the playoffs, or maybe you trade,
Oh, you feel good right now with him in the playoffs.
He might kick up.
He and Matua right now are clicking.
Yeah, and if you bought him low, which I
almost
almost
I did. I got a shout out to trade.
got
I
him.
got a shout out to trade I made recently, or a couple weeks ago. This is when Tyreek was just giving you 10 points a week.
Yeah,
I traded DJ Moore for Tyreek Hill.
because Caleb was
and
on
that got me into the playoffs because the
Wow.
26-point game pushed me in.
That's a sleeper.
Because he was frustrated with Tyreek just doing nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, but then you could talk to the guys that took him
Number
first
one overall.
and
I'm
really
dead.
screwed you.
Let's
Right?
talk
dead.
about that
You're dead.
portion
You're
of
dead.
it, though.
You're
Yeah.
dead.
But the guy that I truly want to highlight is Breece Hall. I mean, we got to talk about this Jets offense.
Yeah, I
To
drafted
be
him.
honest, look, he was going probably top 4 usually.
No,
I mean,
he was going top 3.
top 3. Well, it depends
I
on
got
your
him
league.
4.
People took CD and Tyreek. They might have sprinkled in CMC.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's true.
Bijan.
That's true.
CMC, Bijan, Breece Hall. He was a consensus top 5
Top
pick. no matter
5
what
pick
league.
consensus.
And if you were in a full point PPR, he might have been the first RB off the board based on last year. So, looking at his numbers, man, he's down for the second year in a row in yards per carry, down to 4.2 yards per carry. He's got less than 700 yards rushing this year. Now, he does have 400 receiving. That's a solid metric. If he was producing in the running game, having 400 receiving yards is also a great compliment for an RB1. But he's only got, 5 touchdowns? 5 total touchdowns. That is nowhere near the ROI that you need from a top 5 pick.
No.
And if you're hoping, maybe, the Jets offense has actually been starting to move a little bit. They got Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams involved as of lately. Maybe you're thinking, well, I got Breece. I snuck into the playoffs. I just don't think I think he has a bleak outlook for even the last couple games heading into the fantasy playoffs. Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis,
Davis looked pretty good.
They both looked good. They both were carrying well. They both received well. They're doing what Breece Hall did and really more efficiently. So I'm not saying Breece is a bust, but where you took him this year, he's going to be.
He was a bust. If you drafted Breece Hall in the first round, those teams, you needed someone else to come save you.
You really did. You needed to somehow get Saquon or, get Derrick Henry in the second round.
Yes, he's the savior.
Or if you got Mixon, things like that. And so it was possible for you to make it out with Breece Hall draft pick. But if you said, I got my RB1, I ain't drafting any more RBs, Eric, then you are screwed. So, I just think and here's the thing. I think he's going to be a great value pick next year.
Yeah.
Great value pick. And it depends. I'm going to monitor the Rodgers situation, whatever they decide to do. If they go with the quarterback, it could be very interesting if this offense kind of gets shaken up. We'll have to see, but be tentative with Breece Hall, but don't just completely write him off for the future. He's still an extremely talented player, does have some injury issues.
And
this just was not the Jets here. The locker room issues, the coaching change issues, the GM issues. This was just a year to stay away from the Jets. You're lucky if you did.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Because Breece Hall, Breece Hall coming out at school, he was known for that speed. Like, he had that electric just boom ability where he could run for like a 50-yard touchdown after receiving. Like, he obviously came off an injury, and then he came back really, really strong last year. But this year, I watched a lot of Jets games because I had a lot of Breece Hall shares. I had 2 shares of him. There were a couple times he does this crazy run, and then someone catches up at the end and stops it for the touchdown. So, like, that explosionness, I don't think it's 100% fully there from the guy where he's just breaking out and just speeding in for a touchdown when he gets a nice receiving yards. And from watching a lot of Jets this year, and it was painful. It was very, very painful. The goal line, I love Breece. He's not a goal line guy. He's not that guaranteed goal. He's not that guaranteed goal line. You get in the ball, 1st and 2, you get it in. Like, he got stuffed a bunch of times. And then sometimes Braylon Allen came in and just took one. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, is this happening?
Yeah.
So like Breece Hall, definitely this guy was going consensus top 5 overall pick this year, going probably RB2, RB3 behind CMC or Bijan. Like, he was supposed to be that guy, the next up and coming young running back to take the throne from the old guys. No, the old guys still got the throne.
Yeah, they didn't pass
AKA
the torch.
Saquon, King Henry, like all these guys. CMC might have taken a step down, but those other guys, they showed up and showed that those guys are the real RB1s right now because Breece and the whole Jets dysfunction on offense. Like, I didn't think I was fading the Jets in the regular season. Like, I was a Bills guy over the Jets. So I didn't really have high expectations, but gee, I didn't think the Jets were going to be this bad. Like, I thought they were going to be like a 500 level team. Like, some people had them higher, some people had lower, but I thought it was going to be a 500. No, just pitiful. Like, Aaron Rodgers, he's just not the same guy. Like,
he's 41, man.
He's 41, but he was Aaron Rodgers. Like, this dude was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He came in like, oh, he got Garrett Wilson, he got Breece, like, he got Alan Lazard, he got all his boy, Devontae Adams, the whole crew on offense,
and they're connecting well.
Yeah, Devontae still got it. Devontae's still good, but you imagine all these weapons, but Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know if it's the coaching or him as like him orchestrating this Nathaniel Hackett offense. He got demoted. Like, this offense was just so dysfunctional. And that also has ruined Breece Hall's value because of the Jets this year.
For sure.
So, like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I can't believe one of my Breece Hall teams got a bye week. Shout outs to Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Cooper Kupp, and Jalen Hurts. Those guys saved that first-round pick because I was like, Breece Hall at the 4th pick, feeling pretty good. Nope. He was probably my worst picks of that draft. So it was possible to recover from that loss. But what was unrecoverable was taking Marvin Harrison Jr. in the 2nd round.
Brutal, man.
I think I got bamboozled. All the draft analysts that I like, these guys are smarter than me. They analyze college football for a living. He's the one. This guy, I would trade everything for him. He got the bloodline from a Hall of Famer. Like, I swear to God, if he wasn't a junior, he probably would have went in the 2nd round because I swear to God, he doesn't have that first-round value just by watching him. Like, I bought into the hype. I believed in the name a little too much. Like, with a name like Marvin Harrison Jr., MHJ, and the Cardinal was K1 and Kyler Murray. I was like, woo, they're going to be cooking this year. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He cooked you with a bunch of donuts for a couple games. Yeah, that's what he cooked. He dropped you 27 that second week. I was like, oh, Lord, 27 is week 2. 2 tutties. He might be here. Nope. Volatility is the biggest thing with this guy. This guy sunk you multiple weeks.
Zhu, you know, this is the only save in my MHJ team. I was lucky to take Brian Thomas Jr. in late rounds. He was the savior. He's the savior.
If you look at this year's receiving crop, obviously Malik Neighbors looked better. Yeah. Ladd McConkey, he had a terrific season this year. Ladd McConkey. So I'm like,
Rome might even have as many touchdowns.
Like Rome turned up with the new, like, just firing the offensive coordinator. Rome Odunze has got a couple touchdowns last couple games. So I'm not going to put him there because I think Marvin Harrison Rome, very lopsided season. But I don't know if I'm missing any receivers in mind this rookie year.
Well, Brian Thomas, I think.
Brian Thomas Jr., just by watching him, amount of plays where his QBs missed him and the amount of yards. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like that guy. 6'4", super fast, like really freaking fast. I'm like Trevor Lawrence of the deep, like Brian Thomas Jr. If he has a real quarterback that's healthy, I know T-Law missed a bunch of games this year, and like Mac Jones ain't gonna get it done, but Brian Thomas Jr. looks like that alpha receiver, that big, strong, fast guy. And Marvin Harrison he's big, he's strong, but he's not fast, and he doesn't have that crazy yak ability. He's more just he catches in and he goes down. Like Brian Thomas has that speed. I'm like, wow, this guy. Like you said, man, Sean, those LSU receivers, man. I'm like, it's ridiculous. Because watching Brian Thomas, he's that dude, and he was in a situation where the QB was limited. They had one of the worst offenses this year, and they're just a god-awful team. So even among his rookie peers, he fails in comparison. Like last year, we were blessed with the Puka Nacua showcase. I thought we were going to be blessed with the Marvin Harrison. So one of the most disappointing players.
He's fourth in rookies for averaging.
He's fourth in
behind the three guys you said. Malik's one, then Brian Thomas, and then
Ladd.
Ladd. Yep.
And especially if you took this guy in the second, third round where he was averaging going, I thought it was a nice little sleeper rookie wide receiver pick. No. You took him over King Henry, you just put a dunce hat on because I have a dunce hat. I look at that. I'm looking at that pick. I'm like, what was I smoking? You doofus! I still remember looking at the numbers. Vegas over under touchdowns, 10.5 rushing touchdowns for King Henry. They were projecting minimum 10 tutties for this dude, and I'm like, I'm gonna take a rookie. Man, what a doofus! What a
fell
doofus!
Into the hype like we all did.
Slap in the face.
It's
taking a rookie receiver over King Henry in that resume.
Right. This isn't as bad as your Allen Robinson dud from a couple.
Okay, no. Allen Robinson was like a 4th, 5th round.
I know,
but it's a second round pick.
But I'm saying, Zhu, like everybody fell for the MHJ thing.
Oh,
like you aren't unique in that. Sean, I don't know if you got any shares. Of
I think everybody. Like, there's not one person that drafted there's probably people that drafted, and for me, as much as college football as I watched, I should have just I had a chance to take Neighbors or Marvin Harrison, and I took Marvin Harrison when the whole time I was kind of on the side beating I think Malik Neighbors gonna be really good. And
people did say people did say that Malik was
a more
explosive guy. Yeah. When
I got Malik
people
over
were
MHJ.
debating who's the best receiver in this class, so it was a huge debate. But
for sure,
based on the resume of the first season, and there were I got to give him some credit though. There were some disconnects with Kyler Murray missing him wide open. So that's on the quarterback. I don't know if he would have caught it and scored a touchdown because he ain't that fast, but he did get open a couple times. The quarterback, Kyler Murray, I lost some respect.
I do wonder. Now that you bring up Kyler, I do wonder if maybe I don't know the situation if Marvin would have went to I don't know, a competent, if he would have got a Justin Herbert, right? Yeah. Would he have been a little bit better? Because I do think Kyler at times does a lot of backyard stuff. And this is why I think Trey McBride, outside of him just being really, really good, I think the reason why Trey McBride is successful because he's closer to the line of scrimmage. He's in that middle of the field. And when Kyler is kind of running around playing hard football, he's just whatever. He's scanning. He can just find McBride because he's kind of closer near towards him versus Marvin is outside the numbers.
Yeah, Marvin, because they use them straight up as an X receiver. Yeah. And I think they have to utilize him more, maybe in the slot, move him around. He's not a pure X receiver.
Well, if you notice,
just run go routes.
Yeah, exactly. He's not that guy. He's not that guy.
They moved Neighbor. He was playing a lot of slot early on in the year, and then they moved him to the outside, and he's been a lot quieter because they don't have an outside guy. So they were like, well, why don't you try it? They're kind of trying every. That means the Giants, okay?
The wins are not priorities.
Wins are not a priority. They want to see where he best plays. Obviously they'll get a better quarterback hopefully in the near future, and he'll be better. But Marvin, he has 7 touchdowns. He's out. He's Malik only has I think 3 or 4. Rome's got 3. Brian Thomas Jr. is probably rivaling him.
Brian Thomas. Yeah.
But to only have, I think he only has like 650 receiving yards. I mean, Roma Dunze, who's the third on his team, has 540 on 15 less catches. So, I mean, it's just I actually say we talked about Kyler early on in the year being the sleeper value quarterback, if you guys remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
it should have been slept on. I should have slept on him.
I'm glad I slept on him.
I should have slept on him because I thought he had the ability to get that 21 point average where you get that elite quarterback. Not even close.
And they're not, and we know who they're throwing, and we know who's getting the ball in the red zone with the Cardinals. Yeah. It's James Conner. Yeah. Like even Trey McBride, for how great of a season he is.
What, 0 touchdowns?
Kyler's not a red zone quarterback. Like he just isn't. Like if he is, he's running the ball in. Like that's where he plays it best. But he's
off
not
of backyard play or something.
He can throws in, right? Like he's not Justin Herbert who's just zipping it down.
He's the perfect example of volatility with quarterback. Like he's very hot and cold.
Oh yes.
If I'm in Arizona, I think I got maybe one more year with Kyler. If he can't figure that out, then I might have to move on. I don't know how long his contract
that Cardinals offense. I had higher expectations than like the average consensus. The people are pretty mid on it. I thought they were going to be a really good offense. Nah.
They were the Seahawks made them look. They just whooped them, man.
I know. Up and down. Embarrassing.
Dude, Geno Smith is going to win that division.
Jeez, I hate Geno Smith. God,
but here you go. If you give Geno Smith, I know he has DK Metcalf, JSN, man.
Oh, he's coming out. He's coming out.
Quietly, he's going to be a great player. But
reception guy.
I know we want to do better.
Ohio State receiver. But but JSN also ran a 40. To me, at receiver more than any other position, like that 40 is super important because, like you said, the person that you're going against more times than not, all those corners are running sub 4.4s.
Yeah.
They're quick. So getting separation is what matters at that position. And unless, like, even if you just talk about his father, maybe, like, I don't know how elite of an athlete his father was, but Peyton Manning was throwing him the ball. So, like, Peyton Manning was probably, in all intents and purposes, putting the ball in spots to where Marvin Harrison can get yak and do things to where he becomes a Hall of Fame receiver.
One of the best route runners of all time.
Yeah.
And he had probably some of the best balance and footwork of anybody of all time. Yeah. Like his sideline play was one of the best ever. And he had Peyton throwing him the ball, but you got to remember that Peyton was one of the worst rookie quarterbacks of all time. And you could tell that Marvin and him put the work in together. And it also helped that he had Reggie Wayne to take away some parts of coverage towards the middle and latter half of his career. So he wasn't getting double teamed. Because let's be honest, is Michael Wilson really garnering that much attention away? I know McBride, but that's a completely different coverage on McBride versus Marvin Harrison Jr. So, I mean, maybe they need to get a second. Maybe it's the quarterback. Maybe it's his inability to get separation. I don't know. But I don't think you can – watch him. He's going to go in the 4th, 5th round next year, and he's just –
That's the thing. Marvin –
Like
he might have some because I think that Billy with Marvin's, I think he'd get a lot of touchdowns in a year.
Yeah.
If he's given like pretty much the Mike Evans, like one-on-one coverage and just go jump ball, go get it. I think he has high touchdown upside, but like the yak after catching, I just don't see it.
No.
Maybe
he's a poor man's
I don't see it. Yeah, I just
he's got to figure out how to get to Houston. That's where he had his best years with CJ. Maybe that'll help him. I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't make that trade if I was Houston.
Yeah, no, because Nico Collins, he got that yak.
Yeah.
He got that yak. He's really big and really fast. Marvin just doesn't got yak. He don't got yak for some reason.
Yeah. I agree with all you guys. Like Marvin was my main one. Brees was second because I drafted.
Yeah, both of those on one team. Good luck.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I actually had both of them on my 14-team league, and I still made the playoffs. But that's just I'm a monster.
Who saved?
I'm a monster. Well, Jaden. I would say Jaden saved him. Who else? Also, too, I was really good at picking up waiver. I'm just always good at that because I'm always paying attention who's injured. I tried to get him. Judy saved me these last couple of weeks.
Judy's been cooking with James.
And then Keelan Allen having a couple of. Like basically, because like this league, everybody was 6-7, 7-7. So like I ended up 8-6. So like it was just kind of like the last. If you had so like these last couple of weeks, if you had like I said, I had because last week I had to start Jameis and Judy, and that I was good against the Steelers. Like I was able to sneak in because Jameis gave me 15 points. Like he didn't. I know he will kill you with the interception every fucking game, but like
he
was still able to get 15 points from him. And then Judy, like I said, the week 4, even though I didn't start him, and he went off for like 40 something. Like all the other weeks he was like 20, 15, like. Calvin Ridley was up and down. So I was able to finesse it. And like I said, I was able to get the handcuff with Braylon Allen. He gave me like 12. But to your point, man, Brees was super disappointing because the Jets offense was just really, really bad. And I also think too, man, like Braylon Allen, just how he is like at the goal line, it is disappointing if you just look at Brees' profile. I know he's had a torn ACL, but like his game is an all-purpose back who can catch and run, but like his body is not frail. Like he could be that hammer at the goal line if
he's
he needs
6'1".
to.
It's like he's pretty deep, but
so that's
he doesn't look big in the goal line. Something about him, he looks small.
Yeah, he just doesn't go with force. But what I will say is, I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, and I don't know what what picks they have. But they did draft a guy who's still recovering from his knee injury. Because I watched a lot of Florida State with Jordan Travis, and he's a runner. So like, if he can be an athlete back there, and his passing comes along, now I know that's asking a lot for like a second-year player. But if he can be that, that might help Brees because it always helps the running game when you have a quarterback that can run. Like if you have a quarterback that can keep the defense honest because he can keep it on a read option or he can, scramble and roll around, that helps the running backs in most cases. So maybe Brees would have a better bounce back if it's not him running, Jordan Travis running the first team offense, or if they get another quarterback that can move. So maybe he'll have a good bounce back. You might be able to get some value for him. But yeah, those were definitely the top two, Marvin and Brees for me.
I just want to say a quiet one. Can I say a quick quiet one? And maybe Sean, you can speak to this because you have Hurts. AJ Brown.
He was really strong, and after his injury, he just kind of disappeared.
I love Hurts, but Hurts ain't getting on the ball.
Man,
Hurts is not. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, they're having some
beef,
and that's
Hurts. I get AJ though. Hurts is. I mean, he's playing. Like I said, I tell you all the time. I love if he's throwing 20 passes a game, 15, 20 passes, not 15, but like 20, 25 passes a game. I'm cool with Hurts and like 1 or 2 touchdowns. But I mean, AJ is the star receiver, and he is one of the receivers in the league that when he doesn't play, that offense completely changes. So like, you need to get him the ball.
Yes.
Like, so I don't know if it's just scheme these last couple of weeks. It's just the teams are getting him out, and Hurts can't get it. Yeah, and Saquon is going off, so maybe that. And like I said, for them to win in the playoffs, you're definitely going to need AJ. But I would rather have Saquon hitting at his apex level for playoff football versus AJ going off because 100%. That's what happens. The scores are closer. Running the ball is valuable. Like it's never nobody. You're not scoring 45 points in the playoffs. It's always a 25 to 22 game. So I want Saquon to go off, but Tyreek for me only because Tua was hurt. So that caveat put in massive. But sometimes receivers just figure it out. And we just talked about Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. They're rookies, and they had Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones. Who else?
Drew Lock.
Who played for Trevor Lawrence did not play this well. Mac Jones. They still figured it out, and they're scoring around the same neighborhood Tyreek is. So, Tyreek, considering where you was drafted and your quarterback situation, you could have been a little bit better. Because some guys, like I said, and now nobody saw Darnold going nuts this year, but before the season, Justin Jefferson still got drafted high, but people were scared because they were like, I don't know how Darnold's going to play, and we got a rookie guy. Mm-hmm. Now, lo and behold, some could maybe argue that the reason why Darnold's playing so well is because Justin Jefferson, it doesn't matter who his quarterback, he just knows how to get open. Yeah. But, Justin Jefferson figured it out, and he, like you said, if you would have told me, even though I know Tua was hurt, is like, who would I have more trust in this year going into the year? Would it be Tyreek or Justin? I would have said Tyreek. Because he's just, like I said, he was voted the best player in the NFL. So, he's kind of always demonstrated, even whatever quarterback he's at, he's able to put up numbers. And he wasn't able to do that this year. So, I don't think it's age. I just think maybe the rhythm was off this year. But, Brian Thomas and Malik are in the same scoring range you are. And look at who was throwing him the ball. The Giants, dude, they got throwing the ball. It's like, I don't even know who I don't know. But
I got to emphasize
that's why I'm kind of disappointed.
I got to emphasize this as a Tyreek shareholder. Those weeks without Tua, because you still had to start him. You weren't going to bench. That was the biggest problem. You're going to have to start Tyreek because you're not going to have better options. But the problem is he got 24 yards, 40, 23, 69, and 8 yards. And this is without it was brutal. It was the reason. This is the reason why I missed the play. Is the Tua injury. I didn't say Puka Nacua, but that Tua injury derailed that entire. Like, it was unwatchable. Those Dolphins.
Even A-Chain struggled. Yeah.
A-Chain, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle. These are all elite.
Jalen Waddle, I forgot about
They
him.
fell off a cliff. Like, the offense was their over-unders on games are like 20, 30 points. Like, they could not function without it.
And then he comes back, and Jonnu Smith turns into Tyson.
Oh, yeah, Jonnu Smith is like Travis Kelce. Like,
yeah.
like
He had what? He had 0 points all regulation. He put up like 14 points or something.
Just just crazy. Just going off. But like Tyreek, I can't put him as the biggest bust just because of the Tua. If he did that without, like, if Tua was fully healthy and put up these numbers, absolutely agree with you. But that Tua, like, it just derailed. Like, his value to that team ridiculous because the backup is just awful. I think that the original backup, not the backup they signed, who's the Ravens guy, that original the original
Tyler
backup,
Huntley, you're talking about,
Tyler Huntley was the one they brought in after their
but Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson is the worst football player I've ever seen. He is so bad at football. Like, I am shocked this dude has a job.
They're going to invest
Peterman. Or one of the two,
they're going to invest in a backup quarterback.
You have to, because Tua he is
like brittle. A 4th or 5th round guy. Yeah,
like you
draft someone
like a Tyrod Taylor.
Sam Howell would be a good option.
Yeah, like a veteran, or like they need a real backup because Tua is susceptible to concussions, as everyone knows.
I also think too, like the reports have been Jalen Milroe is like probably going to stay at Alabama for another year because he kind of tailed off at the end of the season. But like, he would be the perfect 4th or 5th round quarterback that you could take if he did come out this year. Because the thing with Milroe is he's a very high risk, high reward. Like, when he's on, he looks like the #1 pick, and when he's off, he looks like he should not be playing quarterback. So like, if Mike McDaniel is the guru that people say he is,
I don't know.
After
this year, when he doesn't have Tua, that
he doesn't look good.
Is just nothing. Yeah. Is nothing.
To be fair, though, the options that he had to work with were pretty bad.
Yeah, that is true.
And it's unexpected. Yeah. It's not like it's planned, right? Like, Tua comes into the season with an injury. I don't know.
So I think with Jalen, if he could coach him up, and while he's still got Tua and ride the Tua, experience into whatever the next couple of years, and then he's able to mold him, and he's able to and Jalen's able to just maybe sit behind and learn. He's in a favorable division in terms of like the weather, except for when he goes to Buffalo, but. Maybe that could be a scenario because, like you said, he's an athlete and he could throw the deep ball. And Tyreek, I think, will still be viable enough. And you have Waddle. And I think thing about Mike McDaniel is I think once maybe you start, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years from now when you got to fade off for Tyreek and Jalen, maybe he'll be able to draft guys that can fit around that skill set. So that would be something intriguing. But yeah, to your point, it was tough seeing Tyreek play without Tua. I actually had a trade right like that second week when he didn't have Tua for Tyreek and Brees. And I denied it because I was just like straight up, and I was just like, I just didn't trust Tyreek. Like, Brees was at least, even though Brees was a bust considered where he had, like, I was.
He started off pretty strong. He started off pretty well.
Yeah,
he was scoring touchdowns.
And I would still get 15. Like, he had maybe like 2 weeks where it was like 6 and 7, but like he still was getting me like 12, 15. And it's like, as long as you're scoring something, like you're not. I've accepted that you're not an RB1, but like you're at least giving me flex numbers. So. Yeah, fantasy is super frustrating to me. I feel like it's a crapshoot, especially when it comes to scoring and when it comes to players outperforming ADP or whatever. But something that's also frustrating is bets, which I'm about to get into.
There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
And P. Bush, I know you had a pretty good week.
Beautiful week, man.
Addison, who was it? Addison and who?
Addison and Darnold stacked, man. But the winner stacked all 3. So he paid up for Justin Jefferson as well. I decided to pay up at Kamara. So I 5X'd my entries because I had Addison, Mooney in every single lineup, and they both just absolutely popped off for their value.
Mooney went off too.
Yeah. And Tyrone Tracy with that touchdown was a huge save in that Saints game. Kamara did bring it down, but I would have won big money if Brock Bowers didn't have just an absolute.
He had a dud. He
was a dud game after against such a prime matchup in Tampa Bay. I understand Aiden O'Connell got hurt, and I do think looking forward, I think Desmond Ridder is probably a better option for Brock and for Jacoby Myers, just because he can move around in the pocket a bit more and he can actually extend plays. Not saying he's a good quarterback, but compared to Aiden O'Connell. He can move around a bit more. So yeah, that Bowers play, I just wish I would have gone with Njoku. Njoku would have been a good one, but it's hard to pass out Bowers this year, and he's pretty much being priced at a above average wide receiver at the same level at which some wide receivers are being priced at. So that was the one that kind of held me back from big money. But this week, man, there's a lot of interesting games. Funny enough, I think one of the best potential value games that you can find is, I know Will Levis is out potentially with an injury, and Mason Rudolph is going to be coming in and playing. I'm not saying this is my major stack, but Calvin Ridley cooked with Mason Rudolph at the helm because he started slinging it. And we know Cincinnati's defense is abysmal. They made Cooper Rush in the first half look like a solid quarterback last night. And CeeDee Lamb, I know he quieted down in the second half, but he got things going against the Cincy defense. So I think Calvin Ridley's a pretty solid play this week. If you want to go big or go home and play a Mason Rudolph and Calvin Ridley stack, then you can probably get some damn good players in to complement them. But I'm going to go with a guy we were just talking about, man. I think this is a great game, potentially high scoring. Dolphins, Texans, man. That could be a fantastic matchup. Yeah. Tua. I'm going with a Tua double stack with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Because
not A-Chain, huh?
Nah. Because here's the thing. I think I know Stroud has not gotten the big game yet this year. And they're faltering a little bit. And I'm not saying they're going to lose the division, but I think they're up maybe 2 games, 3 games on the Colts. You can't play around with that. This is a game that they need to win, but also the Dolphins have to win this game. So I think it's going to be pretty competitive. I'm pretty sure it's in a dome situation down in Houston.
Yes, it's Houston.
That's perfect for Tua. Don't have to worry about any winter weather. And I really just think that the top-level quarterbacks, they either have pretty tough matchups this week, or they're just like Josh Allen is being priced so high, and you can't even get value pairing him with Shakir anymore because Shakir is at a solid, respectable 6,000 now, which is actually more expensive than Marvin Harrison Jr. for you people that are wondering. But so I got Tua with the double stack with Tyreek and Waddle, which means I kind of got to bring it back very cheap for a third wide receiver. I actually like Devon Vele on the Broncos. He's kind of second guy behind Courtland Sutton. Against the Colts, I just think they're going to throw the ball. Even if he gives you 10 to 12 points, he is getting ROI on that, doubling his salary value. Running backs this week, Derrick Henry against the Giants is just licking your chops, man. I mean, you want to play him, but at $8,300, you're not going to be able to get a solid second star if you want to play him. So I'm going to stay away from Derrick Henry, but he's great. Braylon, we were just talking about him. If Brees is out again, Braylon against the Jaguars could be very interesting. Probably will get some goal line. But I really like B-Rob this week against New Orleans. No Derek Carr. This could be a blowout game. Very run-heavy script for B-Rob. And then I do like a guy, Zhu, that you quietly drafted this year. Or maybe you traded for him. I don't remember. But he's had a couple really good games in a row. Rico Dowdle, man. He's getting a lot.
I do have a lot of Rico Dowdle for some reason.
South Carolina.
I do have a lot of Rico.
He's playing the Panthers, man. So, I mean, I'm not saying, hey, the Panthers have been playing a lot better as of late, but
they're tough out now.
This is a relatively, I would say, even game, actually, between Dak-less Cowboys and a semi-rising Carolina Panthers team where Bryce Young's actually looking pretty darn good. So I like the Rico play, kind of going cheaper on the RBs. Tight end, man, tough position because you're either paying up heavy for McBride, Kittle, or Bowers, or you're playing a guessing game. But I think the guessing game that I'm willing to play is David Njoku. I just think he gets consistent enough targets. Jameis is slinging it. They're playing the Chiefs, who actually are the second worst team covering tight ends this season. So I think he just gets a lot of targets. They're going to focus a lot on Judy, get Njoku the ball. And then to kind of bring it home, I'm going to play Shakir, man. Josh Allen's he's got a big game against the Lions this week.
Huge game. Shootout.
Could be a shootout. I like Khalil Shakir. Going to monitor the Keon Coleman situation. Got to see if he's playing. But I think Shakir is his number one guy right now. And if seeing that amazing game against the Rams didn't prove that to you, Shakir can ball, man. He's a solid player.
Interesting.
So I'm riding Tua, man. He better not get a concussion, man. I swear to God.
Dude, not going to lie. In one league, man, I might have the Tua, Tyreek, Devon A-Chain stack for my playoff live. Kyler Murray is pissing me off lately. So, like,
you benched Kyler for Tua for sure.
That's what
Tua's like 7th in average right now.
He's been doing extremely well the last couple of games. So
4 straight 300-yard games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's been doing. Yeah, Tua has been balling since the concussion. He has been absolutely balling. A little recap last week. I picked the Bengals to cover the spread. They get it done because that offense is ridiculous. Is Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's offense, like Chase Brownie, like they went off. Like
they should have lost that game, Zoo.
They should have lost.
That block
punt. Just the Cowboys
that's
just
true.
the Cowboys.
That's true. The Cowboys doing Cowboy things.
Well, let me say this real quick.
Low-key had a pretty solid throw.
You know what that reminded me of when the guy fumbled it after the block? It reminded me of when that Packers guy botched the onside kick against the Seahawks, man. Just went right through.
Don't remind me of that. That's the worst moment of my Packers fandom career. I remember being. I don't really get upset at Packers because I'm not a true like diehard, but I was fucking pissed off at that.
Yeah,
that was for the Super Bowl.
Micah Parsons looked pissed on the sideline.
Yeah,
after that.
But a higher draft pick for them. But
true.
Their season's over. But low key, sort of it is for the Bengals too. So they're kind of playing for nothing, just playing for pride and fantasy points out there for you people. But this week kind of tough, actually. I'm looking at the spreads right now. I'm like, I don't want to do Jets, Jags. Nah, that's a stay away from me.
Ugly.
Okay, but there's a lot of like Bills, Lions. I'm like, ooh, that's just too good of a game to pick. But I'm going with the matchup with the Denver Broncos and the Colts covering the spread, the Denver Broncos this year. I'm looking at this spread. First of all, -4 spread for it. Because right now, Broncos are playing for their playoff lives right now. They're in an extremely competitive division where you got the Chargers. Obviously, the Chiefs are number 1. So they need every win to just get in the wild card game right now. And you're putting them at home right now where you're playing against this Colts team. QB fiasco, benching your quarterback, the Joe Flacco experience, bring back Anthony Richardson. I don't think they're really organized with what their plan is going. Wow, you're looking at the Broncos right now. Sean Payton, man, what he does with teams is just incredible. The QB whisper with the Bo Nix, because if Bo Nix have the Chicago Bears, this ain't happening.
No,
this ain't happening. Like his ability to maximize quarterbacks. And shout out to Cortland Sutton, who's having a sneaky good year.
Yep,
sneaky good year. Oh, with Bo Nix as well.
And their defense.
Yeah, and obviously the defense can speak for itself. Like been the last couple of years, like Denver Broncos defense has been completely elite against Anthony Richardson, which is prone to turnover. So I'm like, I think like Bo Nix as a game manager, they're pretty good when they get up ahead because they maintain their leads extremely, extremely well. And if you look at the last couple games, like pretty big wins, like 41-32 against the Browns, Raiders 29-19, Falcons 38-6. And the game before that is they barely lost to the Chiefs. So they've been playing extremely well football. And when they win by a decent amount of margin, especially at home against the Colts team, which I think is definitely not even I don't think they're a 500 like ball club. They're definitely a below average NFL team.
7-10. Yeah.
Exactly. And you got Will Lutz, the kicker. Like this dude hits everything. So even if they don't cash it in the red zone, I don't need them to cash it in the red zone. I just need to beat this team by 4 points right now to get it done. So for me, I'm taking the better team with the better coach against this team at home. And it's only 4 points. I would have loved it at 3, but I might sweat out for a field goal. But Denver Broncos have been beating teams by a sizable margin for the last couple of weeks. So
I'm going to have a Bo Nix lineup too. I got one already set with Sutton.
Yeah, like Denver, yeah. Shout out to Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix because they've been producing. So I got to shout out to Sean Payton offense of getting it done against a mediocre Colts team, -4. It's following the points.
Yeah. Sean Payton is a guru. And he I said, I know Russell's doing well with the Steelers, but I think he kind of saw how Russell just wasn't a great fit. And
their system.
When he came in, he kind of made that known. I feel like that year he kind of just sabotaged the entire season just so they could get to a point where he did the first round quarterback. Now looking at hindsight's 2020, but I just feel like he sabotaged that season just to get rid of Russell and put him somewhere where he could have a better fit with Mike Tomlin, who's more of a culture guy and who can rally the troops. And like I said, Russell, for all his flaws, he definitely is a guy who you would want to rally behind. He just seemed like a decent dude. So it felt like it was a win-win for the Steelers and the Broncos. But just to recap my last week, I got screwed on both. Jared Goff was down. I'm sorry, he was down. Like whatever. I know technically, whatever, he didn't get touched, but I feel like he was down. And then they proceeded to kick the field goal because I feel like the Packers, even though if they would have got the ball back, they had to drive the field. I was feeling really good because Josh Jacobs was going off, Jordan Love was playing okay, and I thought they were going to be able to squeak that game out. So I didn't get that money line. And keep betting against the Chiefs and keep getting burnt, man. This time got freaking burnt by Doink. That should have went.
I'm telling you, it's destiny, man. It's destiny in these close games. I don't know how they keep getting it done.
It's just like
regression to the mean.
Hopefully,
that's what I'm saying. That is
I pray to God. I believe in regression to the mean. I swear to God, if they don't get it done in their first game of the playoffs after a bye week, man, win zero playoff.
To Bo Nix, they're gonna lose to Bo Nix. He's never.
Oh God, that would be a freaking. Oh God, that would.
That would be a low scoring game. So I would.
He's Bo Nix pulling a Tebow in his rookie year.
He would just throwing a slant route to whoever that was and just go.
Thomas
runs it all the way.
Yeah, would not be shocked if that happened because, like you said, the regression has happened. But I got burnt on both of those money lines. Just like you said, it's tit for tat, but it happened. So this week, like I said, Zhu was bringing up. There's a lot of close games and close spreads. One that I will not put any money on, and I don't advise you to bet, but 14.5 is a massive number for the Giants and Ravens. So, like, if you want to teeter around on that, you can. If you want to add it to a parlay, I'm not adding it to mine, but 14.5 is a massive spread. That's just crazy. And I just feel like even teams, there could be really, really bad teams in the NFL, but it's just like, are they 14.5 points bad? This is a national
in college.
For sure. So, one game I'm looking at, I think people should brought it up. Texans and Dolphins. The Texans are comfortably still going to win that division, but I do think they need to kind of kick up their offense and just the team overall and start winning some games, some statement games to like maybe have some momentum going into the playoffs. So I do think that is important. CJ's been kind of, I guess you would say regression to the mean, but it's only been 1 year. But he's kind of played okay. He hasn't played like a Superman. Tank Dell, whatever. I mean, I know he had a rough offseason, but with Stephon not being there, we kind of going to need him to step up. Nico's a dude. Yeah. But I think Houston being at home, they could get the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins are going to be super desperate because they kind of basically went out. I do think Houston has a chance to win this game. So I like them money line. And the one other game I had as like another money line pick, Tampa Bay. With Atlanta free falling and Tampa Bay, you know, I can't remember who they played last week. Who was it that they played? Not sure, but whoever they did, they squeaked it out. You know, Rashad White had Vegas. They had like a resurgence with Bucky Irving going out. Quiet as kept. Mike Evans is still a dude, but they got another guy who I think they drafted this year, like Jalen McMillan, who's kind of under the radar, super under the radar, but he kind of he looked explosive for like, you know, a second or third receiver. So I kind of like how that's trending. So with Baker, who's played well this year, that defense, Todd Bowles, I think they're going to be revving to play the Chargers. And like I said, it's kind of do or die for them as well. So I think they might be able to sneak the Chargers, considering the Chargers might still have a little bit of an after effects of losing that game against the Chiefs that they should have won. So maybe they might have a little bit of a fall down or for sure. So, and the running back situation, I feel like with the Chargers, I know Vidal is a guy who's trending up, but I don't know. I mean, Gus Edwards, unless like to me, if Gus Edwards ain't getting 1 yard touchdowns, you need a more versatile back. And I did come on this podcast and say that John Harbaugh is really good at finding like that next back because he did it at Michigan and he did it at 49ers. But sometimes, I mean, it would be better to have your star back like JK. So, you know, that might be one where it's like, I don't know if he could just scrap.
And to be fair, they still almost beat the Chiefs without him.
They did. And I also think, too, a lot of this that I need to shout out, too, is their defense. The Chargers' defense has been a little underrated this year. I think they kind of got thrown out because Khalil and Joe and all them guys have kind of whatever. But, like, they played well this year. And that's one thing I got to give Harbaugh credit is he just knows how to coach football. He knows how to get the right guys. Because if you look at this team last year, they just looked dead at every position except for Herbert.
Camaraderie.
So it's like,
the camaraderie.
He's got them playing as a team. So I guess that's what
a lot of franchises get used to Harbaugh. Like he legit turned out that entire program after the dysfunction with Stanley.
Yeah, I'll say this at the pod because we've gone long. But Harbaugh's a guy who likes to he's into that. He's a rah-rah guy. He's like Tomlin, but like Tomlin has been in the leagues for so long, we can't take advantage. But it's like the same kind of mold. It's like he's a in your face. He knows how to instill the culture, and if you get a good culture, that means the guy's going to play for you and play well. So
he's an older version of Dan Campbell. I'll just say that he's kind of the rah-rah.
Dan's the same way. Yeah, just he hires well, and he's going to instill a culture of toughness. Because at the end of the day, this is a sport that's built on tough guys. So it's like if you got tough guys in your locker room, you're going to win a lot of games. It's just how it is. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with though. Houston and what was I just say? Tampa. Yeah, money line on both of those. You can combine those or you can just do them separate, whatever. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this week. Like I said, we did our little fantasy breakdown of our ups and downs with that. Football season is wrapping up. The playoffs will be coming through. So make sure you guys are tuned in to Tyson Talks _ for Instagram, YouTube, Quantro Knows, Apple, Spotify. Give us a 5-star review when you do listen to us on those channels so we get in the algorithms. And for me, Zhu and P. Bush, we are out.